Welcome you guys, I'm back and I'm bringing you guys another match preview for our upcoming game tomorrow against Everton at 12:30 PM UK time. For today's preview, it's going to be structured a bit differently. To start with things, I'll be talking about the club's official statement release in regards to the verdict's appeal earlier today. I'll be speaking about the press conference and what Lampard had to say about transfers and transfer targets. I'll be talking about the predictor lineup for tomorrow's game, and to end things, I'll give some brief thoughts on Everton and what we need to expect from them as fans. But before I get into anything, if you like today's video, help me get over 1,000 likes. And on that note, we start with the club's statement release in regards to the CAS appeal. Now, due to the big news that came out earlier today, the club have released a statement on the appeal verdicts. And as we start with things, the club of course talk about how the ban imposed has been reduced to one window. We're free to sign players in January. Yeah, that's all stuff we know. The club is grateful to CAS for the diligent approach that it gave this matter. The club has not yet received the written reasons for CAS's decision, but wishes to make the following clear. And from this point, you guys, the club writes a statement in 4 different parts. We focus on the first one, breaking each one down. The first one states that the approach taken by FIFA to this case has been deeply unsatisfactory. Not least as FIFA chooses to treat us differently compared to Man City for reasons that make absolutely no sense. And you know what's really funny? And as I'm reading this, I can hear how loud this guy's typing this statement out. You can tell he's pissed off. He's not happy. We're sticking it on Man City. We're making it public. Why is it one rule for one club and a completely different rule for us? Where's the consistency? It makes no sense, and I share that sentiment, and I'm happy that the club are really expressing how frustrated and angry they are, because we all are. And it's great to know that we can finally put to rest this really annoying saga. But now we move on to the second part, with FIFA accusing us of having breached Article 19 of the FIFA regulations in relation to 27 players. Covering the period from 2009 onwards, of those 16 players were registered by us in exactly the same way as other Premier League clubs registered players at the time. Now, to continue on, the clubs state that they sought clarification from the Premier League in 2009 about whether it needed to apply for permission to register players in this category. The FA subsequently liaised with FIFA, and it was confirmed to Chelsea that the players in this category were entitled to register and that no special application was required. I mean, it gets more annoying from here, you guys. Now, part 3 is broken down into 2 parts. Part A talks about how 6 players qualify for the exceptions set out by FIFA, but as a consequence, any breach in relation to these players. Now, to end things with point 3 and B, point 3 was broken down into 2 parts, with the club stating that 6 players did qualify for the exceptions set out by FIFA, and in part B it talks about how the other 5 remaining players that were deemed okay to register under these stipulations ends up that's not the case for some reason. It basically comes down to FIFA making different regulations depending on the clubs they're talking to. It's not right, it's not fair. And to end things, you guys, with the 4th point, Chelsea respect the importance of the work undertaken by FIFA. Listen, we don't want all the smoke. We don't want FIFA to come on to us for any bullshit reasons, but you know what? The club are making it very clear that they fully cooperated with FIFA and they agree that minors should be protected. But to end with the closing statement, however, if FIFA continues to impose inconsistent and unequal sanctions on clubs, then it will not only undermine the very purpose of the regulations in the first place, but it will also bring into doubt the game's confidence in FIFA as an organisation being able to appropriately regulate these important areas. A very classy and professional statement. I think the club really clarified all the issues and concerns that they've had and felt over this past year and a bit. The only positive thing I can say to end this is that thank God this whole saga's over. We can put it to rest. It's in the past. Now we move on to the press conference review. After that, I'll be focusing on the predicted lineup to end today's video. Now we kick off with the press conference, and obviously with the big news that came out earlier today, our transfer ban has been halved, effectively meaning that we can register players and sign them in the upcoming window. So that is extremely important news, and of course, if you want to hear my full thoughts and opinions, I've got you guys covered. You'll find a link in the cards above and you'll hear my full thoughts and perspectives on today's big news. But to continue on with the press conference, Lampard did confirm the club have been actively preparing for this scenario is positive, and it allows us to look forward into the market. Now, as we go on, you guys, of course, Lampard was going to be asked about targets now that we can sign players again, and Frank kept it frank, I guess, by not really confirming anything. But we move on, and Lampard was asked about transfers again, which was the most predominant thing in this press conference. Lampard said that if the club feels we're in a position to strengthen, then he would. It's what all big clubs do. And I feel like that's been the main mindset and mentality that Lampard's been instilling in this team. He wants these younger players to understand that just because you're playing first team football now, it doesn't mean that you have a guaranteed place every single time. Play for a big club, it means that you need to work and fight for your position. And I think that's the best mentality to instill for a very young and hungry, confident team. We move, and Lampard was asked about his thoughts on Everton's interim manager, Duncan Ferguson. Lampard said that Ferguson is an Everton hero, and for that reason, we're going to have to be on guard for the upcoming game tomorrow. This is going to be a similar game to the one against West Ham, which basically means low block and the odd counter attack. But I'm going to continue on. Lampard confirmed that Tammy will be playing in tomorrow's game. Ross Barkley is fit again, but don't expect him to play. And Rudiger is very, very close, but he isn't ready for the next game tomorrow. As I told you guys, transfer talk was the entire buzz for the press conference today. And of course, Lampard was asked about transfers, specifically targets, with Lampard saying that it's important with who we bring in. But the most important thing is that we keep the balance of the squad right. I don't see it as 11 players, but I see it as 20 plus men. He said categorically too, he doesn't want to make any tactical changes to accommodate any new signings, and I love that. We fumbled the bag time and time again by signing stupid players that didn't complement or suit the system players were playing in. I'm thinking of guys like your Maratas, I'm thinking of guys like your Torreses, so many players of this nature. Lampard is saying the right things. If we're signing players, they complement what's happening now. I'm not changing anything for no one. And you guys, to end with the final point that Lampard was speaking about, Lampard said that he's going to be steady with Callum Hudson-Odoi, and that's due to his age and his recent injuries. And obviously, it's another example of smart man management by Frank. Look at how PULISIC has grown after being managed by Frank. Imagine Callum after the same treatment. It's great to see, and you guys, that's going to bring it into the press conference part. We move on to the predicted lineup part, and I'm going to be focusing on two lineups for the game tomorrow. Now, as you can see beside me, here's lineup A. For lineup A, I've gone for Mason Mount, Pulisic, Tammy with Hudson-Odoi playing, and that's because we don't know if Willian is going to be fit for tomorrow's game, but it's not looking like the case. In midfield, I've gone for that Covante, that Kantic. I mean, I saw your guys' suggestions. You came up with better names than I did. I like the name of Kantic. I think that we are going to see that midfield in tomorrow's game. And at the back, I have been a bit more ambitious in that sense. I've gone for Emerson on the left, with Tomori returning back into the team. And the reason why I've done this is because Lampard's confirmed that he might possibly rotate a tiny bit, because of course he's thinking about that massive game against Lille. It's a must-win game. We need to get all 3 points to qualify from the group. So against Everton, I understand why Lampard may make some smart decisions and rotate slightly for that game. I know Hudson-Odoi might be a bit of a risk. Maybe Lampard feels like it's best to take him away from the spotlight and slowly integrate him back into the team. I think that's what he's doing, but I think if Willian isn't going to play tomorrow, can Pedro play over Hudson when Pedro hasn't been too great this season? I'm not so sure. And on top of that, I love to see that combo play between Hudson and Reece. I think that'll be quite fun to see down the right hand side, and that's the predicted lineup I'm hoping to see in tomorrow's game. Now for the B team, here's the other lineup I can see us using. As you can see, the only differences in this team is that Aspie and Zuma are playing down the left. Christensen returns and continues his place in the team, and obviously Reece and that, and the rest of the team basically playing as it was in part A. Part of me thought, may Jorginho start in tomorrow's game, and I wouldn't be surprised by that, but I just think in terms of balance and of course by the forward output that both Cover and Kante brought to the team in the last game against a team like Everton that are most likely going to be parking the bus, using low blocks and just sitting deep and not really looking to close us down and apply too much pressure. Well, I feel like a Kantish midfield would be the best one to use. Anyway, you guys, if you don't agree with my team lineup, give me your thoughts and opinions. Give me your lineup in the comment section below. And to end things with the final part for today's video, we move on to Everton and what we need to expect from our opponents in tomorrow's game. Everton sacking the manager right before they're playing us. I feel like I've seen this thing happen time and time again, and it doesn't really work too well in our favours. Now, the only saving grace I'm getting and the confidence I'm getting in tomorrow's game for why I feel like things will be a bit different is because Lampard seems to have really drilled that into the team. When he told us in the press conference to expect a game like the one against West Ham, well, I think that tells us everything about our opponents and how we need to approach that game. Now, I'm saying it straight, to beat Everton, we need to move that ball fast. It has to go from left to right. It needs to have a lot of speed and purpose with our use of the ball. If we don't get our fullbacks up, controlling the spaces in the opposition half, it's going to be hard for us to control that game against Everton. But we know that Duncan Ferguson is the new interim manager at Everton. Ferguson used to be a type of player that was a monster in the air, very aggressive, worked really hard, and maybe he might provide some of those Brexit qualities in his play to this Everton team. I mean, they could do with a bit more grit and a bit more determination. But personally for me, you guys, I'm quite cynical to this whole situation. I watch a lot of football, and one thing I see in football every single time is how no one learns from the past, how clubs and owners continuously repeat the same stupid mistakes, and there's a real obvious reason why Everton have been struggling, and it simply comes down to the fact that Everton keeps signing players, they keep signing new managers, sacking them, not giving them any time. The new manager comes on board, he signs his own players, he's working with players that he doesn't like, he then gets sacked, and this whole process just continues and continues. And right now at Everton, it's the fourth time it's happened. They've had decent managers in your Koemans and obviously Silva as well, but I just think the entire structures behind the scenes has not been on point. Their transfer activity has not been good enough. The people making the decisions and having the final say have not been doing their jobs properly. And with all the money Everton have spent, I think it's about 250 million over the past 4 seasons. Well, you're expecting a much bigger outlay from that type of investment. And I think, if you don't have the structures in place, none of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money you spend, because at the end of the day, the results won't become different. I'd love to say that we'll confidently smash Everton tomorrow, especially after that disastrous game where they got thrashed 5-2 by Liverpool. This is an Everton team that lack that intensity I feel they need. Missing out on big players, missing out on Gomez in midfield, massive loss for them. But at the same time, I can't get too carried away because we've been in so many favourable situations like this, and then maybe it's overconfidence. I mean, I don't know what the hell happens, but we just always seem to just mentally just shut down a bit and we don't really focus. So tomorrow's game, I want Lampard to instill on these guys, listen, now that the window is open again, you guys, you need to watch behind your backs, because if you're not on point, you're going to get replaced. Now, I know Lampard won't say it in the manner I did. He'll say it in a much nicer way, but I want that focus to be there tomorrow. I want us to keep applying the pressure. We need to secure a top 4 finish. If we get Champions League football this season, it means the business we can do in the next summer window is going to be incredible. We can't afford to miss out on this moment. I think we need one good window to really put us in a very favourable position to start winning things and, building for the future. And you guys, I'm going to end things, but before I do that, I'll give my score prediction. I'm going for a 3-1 win to us. Now, I know it's very ambitious. In my head, we can't keep clean sheets, but at the same time, how many clubs in the league are doing that? I'm just hoping that I see a lot of purpose and good attacking play. But you guys, on that note, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. I'm Nini FC. This is Blue Lions TV. See you guys in a bit.